Wow, Ustaz, subhanallah.
I wanted to tell you, don't call me Ustaz.
The Business Lab.
Hi everyone, welcome again to another episode of the Business Lab podcast with our venue sponsor Craft by 3 and our studio magicians, Studio 5 Corp. I'm very excited today because we have none other than Ustaz Ridhwaan. Ustaz, nice to have you at the studio.
Nice to have me. Thank you so much for having me as well.
Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure. I'm going to introduce him a little bit so that you guys know a little bit of context. So with over 6 years of diverse experience in Islamic finance, Syariah compliance, fund management and trade finance, Ustaz Ridhwaan's qualifications include the Islamic Finance Qualification, IFQ from CISI, UK, the Advanced Certified Islamic Finance Executive in Financial Analysis from Ethica Institute of Islamic Finance, and the Certified Sharia Advisor and Auditor, CSSA from AAOI FIA. EOFI.
Yes.
Thank you, Ustaz. Nice to have you today. We have a big topic today. We're going to talk a lot about halal investing, a lot about the world of Islamic finance. So we should jump right into it, right?
Definitely. Let's
Bismillah.
go.
MashaAllah. Okay, so let's kick things off a little bit. Let's warm the engines up a little bit, okay? So Ustaz, could you please share a little bit more about your journey in this world of Islamic finance? Tell us more.
Okay,
How do you start?
I think I started off as a student in Madrasah Junaid.
Okay.
And then back in 2013, they launched the Islamic Finance Qualification course with my first teacher in Islamic Finance, Mr. Raj. And from there, that's where everything from internships to conferences to networks, and now, Alhamdulillah, my two companies, IFSZ as well as Resex, Alhamdulillah, to tackle both the Islamic finance issues in Singapore as well as the halal investing gap that we have in Singapore. So these are the two issues that we are trying to solve in Singapore.
I see. So those are the two major challenges you're trying to tackle. I see. Okay. What led you to decide, okay, you know what, we want to focus on these two particular issues? Why?
Okay, so for Islamic finance itself, right, based on what we see in the media, what we see in the news as well, people are concerned about, for example, issues that affect them. For example, housing facility loans, for example. Then another instance is, for example, just as we talked about earlier, when you have your income that is not justified does not justify your values or your principles or your religion, then how do you justify your earnings from there? Example, as a Grab food driver, if my food is non-halal, is my earnings justified? If I'm an accountant in a bank, and you know that, for example, riba is non-permissible in Islam, then how do you justify that earning? Example, if you're an IT department personnel in a casino firm, how do you justify that earning? Yeah. So these are the questions that we try to solve, and Alhamdulillah, now we are a Sharia advisory firm. Before going, if you want to go now, it's a WhatsApp group back in 2018.
Yes, please. Tell us a little bit. So it started from that WhatsApp group. So tell us a little bit more about, a little bit of the origin story here.
Okay, so in 2018, myself and three other professionals, we decided that, hey, there's actually a gap in the Islamic finance landscape. We need to address that as Islamic finance professionals. Back then I was working at a bank as well. And we thought, hey, let's start just a WhatsApp group to gather all the finance professionals in Singapore and maybe overseas as well. And from there, now, fast forward to 2024, we did more than 100 events, Alhamdulillah. We have more than 14,000 followers across all our social media as well as our membership base. Then we also created another platform, which is Resex, to tackle the investment gap that is halal investing in Singapore, because people are looking for halal investment. They have the wealth, but the investments are scattered, and secondly, the investments that they are shown may not be performing as what they want it to be.
Yes. See, okay. So since we're on the topic of your two companies, Islamic Finance Singapore,
correct,
and also RiskX, what's the vision here? What's the mission of the two organizations?
Okay, so for Islamic Finance Singapore is essentially an Islamic finance ecosystem builder. So this is how I see it, and as well as my team. We see it as 4 pillars. IFSZ as a community platform, Resex is the investment platform. Then hopefully in the maybe 5 years, or maybe lesser than that, we'll create a fund just to solve Islamic finance issues in Singapore. For example, housing facilities. Then after that, maybe in the next 10 years, or maybe 5 to 10, right, is the bank.
Okay.
That's the vision. But at the end of the day, we want to help our community to live a better life as Muslims from the financial sense. But we are not financial advisors. That's
the
what I have to say.
caveat.
Yes,
You're not a financial advisor, but you try to create
Yes.
the space for conversations. That's
Correct.
why you're having your symposiums and your forums.
Correct.
Just so some of you know, they have been organizing great events. The turnout has been amazing.
Alhamdulillah.
Just maybe perhaps you can share a little bit more about events here, Ustaz.
Okay, so I think the recent one that we had was a Re-Symposium. Re-Symposium is on its second run, and this is a bit unique because it's a symposium that gathers Islamic finance professionals as well as the financial players. So, for example, the investment platforms, the brokerages. So, on the first session, we had something that people have been looking for: how to invest in stocks, and we brought a fund manager who is a Muslim to give his take on how do you as a Muslim start investing. So from the basics of investing all the way to how do you screen for Sharia compliant stocks. The second one we had Mr. Zulkarnain and Prof. Khairul Al-Junid and my colleague Salihin to do a fireside chat on budget 2024 as well as the current issues, the regional issues in Middle East. The third one is money management strategies. Someone who has bought people from debt all the way to having 5 figures in the bank. Number 4 is a panel presentation on the outlook as well as update on Islamic finance. So from the crypto, from the Sharia sense. So because we have a lot of questions on is crypto halal, is Bitcoin halal and whatnot. And then we have the outlook on Islamic finance and the private fund management space. So for example, if you know investment, if you have invested in stocks and ETF, there's actually more than that. There's private funds, microfinancing, private equity, staking and whatnot. So there's a lot more investments that are out there, but it's scattered. And that's one of the issues that we are trying to solve in RESEX, to gather all of these investment platforms, allow people to not just see the investment platforms, but also to track what is the level of portfolio that they are currently that they're currently gaining or they're currently losing, example.
Sure. That's beautiful, and actually there was a lot of value there. If you notice, you're targeting almost every aspect of the ecosystem, right? From private all the way to public, and I think it's amazing the work that you do, from events all the way up to engaging the layperson, so everyone's being engaged. That's amazing. For those who might not be too familiar, could you share with us a little bit more about what halal investing is about and why is it so important?
Okay, I think for a start, we need to look at the principle of Islamic finance, right? It's that when it comes to financial matters, it's the original ruling is permissibility, or al-aslu fil al-mu'amala al-ibaha. That's a legal maxim in Islamic finance. So the original ruling for financial transactions is permissibility, because if you look at ibadat, if you look at worship, it's the original ruling is non-permissibility. And why is this so? Is because for financial transactions, we are dealing with not just Muslims but also the people around us, who may not be Muslims as well, and who may be of a different ethnicity or community. So that's why there's a bit of not lax or in terms of ruling, but a concession when it comes to Islamic finance. Okay, secondly, so how do you apply this ruling to, for example, financial transaction, to investments, right? So I'll just give you one example for stocks example.
Okay.
Stocks, if you look at the time of the Prophet, there was no such thing as stocks. Of course, you can link it up to, for example, partnership and whatnot. But for stocks, you are owning a share of the company, a percentage of the company. And you know the price people trade and sell every night or every day. So the scholars back in around 1999 to 2000, they did the fatwa because people were asking, how do I invest in stocks to grow my wealth?
I see.
Yes, and the scholars, actually there was only one scholar at that time who dared to be different, who created a fatwa. His name is Sheikh Nizam Yaqubi. To how do you screen a stock? And from there you have the Sharia compliant screening for stocks, which involves 3 stages. One is the business screening, because as Muslims you don't invest in businesses that are not Sharia compliant. For example, casino, arms, adult entertainment, tobacco, as well as pork industry, for example.
Yes.
The second one is the financial screening, because as Muslims we are not allowed to invest in, or we are not allowed to indulge in interest. So there's a financial screening filter that is, if I can just share with you.
Sure.
the debt threshold, the accounts receivable threshold, the cash threshold, and lastly the tainted income threshold. So all of this is based on a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that 1/3 of your wealth, if you give to your beneficiary, is already too much. So the scholars extracted this narration to then create this 1/3 filter. I mean, I won't go here because it might be too technical, but that's the second stage. The third stage is the income purification, because if these companies, for example Apple, they didn't start as Muslim, right? They weren't born as Muslims. So Steve Jobs was a Muslim, so he didn't create Apple for Muslims. So how, and these businesses or the sub businesses inside Apple may not be Sharia compliant. For example, their credit card or their businesses that involve adult entertainment, example. So from this, scholars say that you need to purify the dividends that you receive. So there's actually a formula for that. If you don't want to have or to gain income that is non-halal.
I see. Subhanallah. Where can we find out more details about it? Where can we read up? Is there some platform that your company provides?
Okay, so from our platform, we do provide it. We have articles on it, but it's not, I mean, we are not the only players here. We also have players outside in the UK as well as in Singapore. But we do look at, for example, Islamic Finance Guru in the UK as our North Star. But if you just want to, for example, Sharia stock screening, right, then there are multiple platforms that are available out there. So that's why Musafa is called Musafa, and Islamically in India, but they can screen a lot of markets. Then there's Zoya. Zoya is an app and on your phone. But Musafa is, I think, the most cheapest. The most cost effective. Yes, sorry.
Affordable.
Yeah. So these are the kind of filters that can just tell you, okay, whether this stock is Sharia compliant or not. For example, if you're interested in, let's say, Micron or Apple or Samsung or whatnot, is it Sharia compliant? They can just give you an indicator instead of you having to go, is this, what is threshold, what is the business, what is the tainted income, what is the purification ratio and whatnot. So these are tools that have been made easy for the Muslims to access.
So they do the heavy lifting, the work for you guys. Okay, cool. So maybe just to zoom out a little bit, because I guess we went a little bit granular there, right? So we're gonna zoom out a little bit. Maybe just share, just high level, the difference between halal investment and conventional finance. Just the main differences.
Okay, so for Islamic finance, if we don't, is the most important thing is, of course, the riba element or the interest element. We don't involve ourselves or indulge ourselves in riba, right? Because based on the Quran itself, ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la ta'kulu riba and wadharu ma baqiya minar riba. Leave riba, leave interest alone. You don't even indulge in it. And after that, if you look into the verse again, it's around Surah Al-Baqarah, around there. It says that if you don't leave it, then be ready for a war with you, between you and Allah, not just Allah alone, but His messengers. So of course, if you are fighting against your Creator, you are going to be lose, right? And some scholars even say that riba is second to shirk. Yeah, so these are some it's a big issue, but the good thing about riba is that while it's been prophesied to be that everyone is gonna feel the dust of it, as we see in the real world, but we still look at the Prophet's narration that if you have even a seed and the Hari Kiamat is coming, right, you just still plant it. So for our side, we still we still fight for Islamic finance for our community. And okay, that is, I think we went really a bit on riba, right? But that is one element that we need to consider when it comes to conventional and Islamic finance. But the other element is, again, the gharar element, for example, the uncertainty element. So in Islamic finance or in Islam, we cannot have gharar. Gharar is uncertainty. So example, in insurance, when you buy insurance, right? For example, term insurance, you do not know when that accident or that death will happen. So you are buying something that you do not know will happen or not. So that is the issue that is a concern for Islam. Of course, when you look at takaful, how do they solve it? They solve it through donation. Instead, when you buy insurance, you are buying and selling. You are buying the policy, right?
Yeah.
But for takaful, example, the Islamic version of insurance, you are not buying, you are donating the money. So you circumvent.
I see.
Yeah, so that is one way. Then the third element is my series zero sum game. So just look at insurance again. When you buy insurance, if you get, example, you get into an accident, example, then the money will be distributed to you. Then the insurance company is not getting it. They have your premiums, but then they are not able to. It doesn't commensurate with the amount of premiums that you have paid. The amount that they have distributed it to you is more than how much you have given to them. So it's a zero sum game where one person wins. Of course, if you don't pay, if nothing happens to you, then the insurance company wins.
Yes.
There is a 1-0.
I see.
So that is one example. But of course, if you look at insurance itself, there's an Islamic version of it. Then another aspect is we are trying to introduce takaful in Singapore, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes that are currently on the way lah.
I'm sure. And I guess these are very important issues, key issues, like you mentioned about riba, I mentioned about the need to combat uncertainty, right? And a lot of these terms might, just pass people above their heads.
Yes.
And I believe there are many avenues for them to read up more.
Correct.
And I guess Islamic Finance Singapore is one of the avenues, not the only player, but definitely one of the avenues, right?
Yes, correct.
All right. So I guess we can perhaps turn the page of this chapter in the book and go to another chapter. I'd like to speak a little bit more about this idea of being a Muslim entrepreneur yourself, right? And also, I would say commercial success, right? To some form. How do you see this almost like a dichotomy? Like, do I be a commercial success or am I stick to ethics as a Muslim? How do I become a successful Muslim entrepreneur since you run a business?
Alhamdulillah. So I think from a Muslim perspective, I think we are encouraged to do business. It's something that even the companions did. The Prophet was a trader, he was not a businessman because he was using the capital of his wife, Khadijah. But going back to the story, I think there are also inspirations that we can take from the companions when it comes to business. For example, when they have income, they will donate a portion of it every night, for example, to the beneficiaries.
Every night
To the beneficiaries. So that is one story of it. Then if you went to the symposium last week, right, Ustaz, one of our Ustaz Muhtar mentioned that there was a story about a carpet. He donated it after that because it was a very valuable carpet, and because he didn't want it, he donated it.
Okay.
Somehow or another, it came back to him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one example. The inspirational stories when it comes to businesses during the Islamic time. But other than that, I think there's one question that we always have in Islamic Finance Singapore is there a level that is a max, a threshold that we shouldn't take any more than that is profit? Can we only take a certain level of profit? Can we only take a certain level of profit margin? So in actual fact, there's no such thing as that in Islam. Just to clarify. But when it comes to business, you also have to consider how do you put Islamic elements in it. Example, I'm sure you might know that last time when there were several traders around there, then people came to that trader. If he didn't have the product, he would say, "Hey, go to that person. He has that. He has that. He has that product that you want." Or example, another story is. He already had his money, and he knew that this was enough for him for the day. So he closed his shop. Then he said to the customer, you can go to the next person. Then another narration is that there was this one companion, one person. He was a businessman, and he was trying to follow so much the words of the Prophet that if there is someone who wants a refund from you, give it to him. So he opened his business just to meet that requirement. So he did business. He became so successful. He was waiting for someone to to get the refund from him. So finally one day a person came, I want a refund for my product.
Subhanallah, the level of love they have for the boss, they want to fulfill that.
Correct.
Subhanallah. That's something very aspirational. Like whatever the companions and prophets thought, that's what they want to live.
Correct.
Even in their life. Subhanallah. That's amazing. I guess in order to wrap things up a little bit, do you have any final thoughts or key takeaways you'd like to share in terms of the future of halal investing? Where do you think this is going to go?
Okay, I think for halal investing, it's definitely going to grow bigger. One of the banks in Singapore has already mentioned that they want to establish itself as a regional wealth management hub. Singapore is a regional wealth management hub because they know that the wealth from the Southeast Asia is going to come in here. Singapore is a stable hub. So that is one prospect that we are looking, the trajectory. Then the second aspect is people, the Muslim community itself, they have more wealth just from zakat. You can see the amount of zakat collected is higher every year. And then our Muslim community is also joining industries that also pay higher in terms of salary. For example, tech, finance and whatnot. So there's a higher level of income and people are starting to inquire a lot more. People are interested more. And the interest was not available back in 2010. So for example, right, when it comes to investments, last time there was no one fund in Singapore that was Sharia compliant for the public. So one financial advisor, what they did was they took one fund, they had to know what are the constituents. So for example, this company, for example 200 companies, from there they filtered, this company is compliant, then we will purify from how much you have invested and how much you have gained, we will purify it for you. So and now there's actually more than 100 investments all around the world. And if you don't, that's not even including Indonesia, Malaysia investments that you can access. Of course, you have to also consider FX return, because when you invest in foreign countries, for example, Malaysia, Indonesia and Thailand, for example, they may see that you're getting 24% example. But when you return back to Singapore dollars, you're only getting 5%. So this is something that you need to consider.
So the exchange rate and I see.
As well as the risk, of course.
So in other words, it seems like a very positive outlook for the future.
Correct. It's definitely something that is exciting. One interesting fact about RiskX, our company, is that when we pitched it to NTU during our minor in entrepreneurship module, we raised around 11.3 million. Not real money, of course. We wish it was real money, but then it was not. But it was just for a module, and from there the investors were not Muslims. None of the investors were Muslims, and they believed in us. The second business was around 3 million around there. They raised from that competition.
I'm surprised they didn't make it a real business then. Right? Thank you so much, Ustaz, for very insightful and enlightening, very precise elucidation of what's going on in the scene. Thank you so much for catching us on this episode of the Business Lab podcast. As always, thank you to our venue sponsor, Crowd by 3, Studio Magicians, Studio 5 Corp. And of course, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and YouTube, where you're going to see this video, inshallah. Catch you for the next episode. See ya. Bye.
Bye.